measures. Beal gets open for three. Dagger! Bradley Beal's dagger three.
There was a time when the Washington Wizards were rising up the ranks. It looked like they were on the verge of becoming a legitimate contender, a team that successfully built their roster through the draft. And while former GM Ernie Grunfeld got a lot of flack for questionable trades, they were still on the upswing despite him. In 2014, 2015, and 2017, the Wizards reached the Eastern Conference semifinals and were so close to making it further. However, after that, a series of unfortunate events caused the Wizards to fall off the face of the earth. I mean, they're still around trying to compete, but their timeline did not go in the right direction. Now, they're supposed to be reaching that level of contending, but instead, they went back to being a lottery team. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's talk about this short-lived era of the Washington Wizards. Their rapid rise into prominence, followed by a steep fall back into reality, and what's in store for the future. First, let's set the stage for their situation. The rise of the Wizards in the early 2010s can be attributed to three major draft choices. John Wall, the first overall pick of the 2010 NBA draft, Bradley Beal, the third pick of the 2012 draft, and Otto Porter Jr., the third pick of 2013. While they also drafted some busts over the years, these three selections became the core of a young team that was ready to bounce back after a polarizing era. The Gilbert Arena saga ended horrendously with a severe knee injury. Then, a gun incident in the locker room. After that, you had a short-lived era with a bunch of knuckleheads like JaVale McGee, Nick Young, and Andre Blatch. So it was a complete disaster. Drafting Wall was the start of a new era, a fresh new beginning for a Wizards franchise trying to erase their notorious image. A few years go by and the development of their new draft prospects were staggering. John Wall and Bradley Beal made their way up the ranks, and Otto Porter became the perfect complementary piece. While he wasn't a star himself, he improved into one of the best three-point shooters in the league, an incredible catch-and-shoot player who took on the task of defending the opposing team's best wing players too. Kelly Oubre was another guy they picked up, and he also showed flashes of star potential. Combined with some quality role players like Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat, Nene, and even Bojan Bogdanovic for a brief period of time, the Wizards became legitimate threats to come out of the East. On paper, the Wizards' rebuild was the model for success. It looked like they did everything right. They accumulated high-quality draft prospects, they successfully developed them into core pieces of their franchise, they acquired good role players to complement them, and they all got better together, returning to the playoffs and rebuilding their image from the Gilbert Arenas era. It was an exciting time in DC. In the 2014 playoffs, they stunned the Chicago Bulls in 5 games, a series where they were heavily doubted, as most analysts believed the Bulls would easily win. In the following playoffs, they swept the Toronto Raptors, who were once again the favorites to win. In the 2017 season, they won 49 games, defeated the Hawks, and pushed the number 1 seeded Boston Celtics to 7 games. It looked like they were on a great trajectory and the future was looking bright. However, all of this came crashing down just as quickly as it rose up. Since the 2017 playoffs, the Wizards faltered and have not repeated that same success. It was due to a combination of different reasons, some of which were out of their control, but others could have been prevented. First and foremost, a huge reason is due to John Wall's injury. Right before the 2017-18 season, the Wizards signed Wall to a colossal 4-year, $170 million contract. This was the largest contract in the history of the Wizards franchise. However, a few months later, Wall started to suffer aggravating knee problems that eventually required surgery, causing him to miss half the season. Then, in the 2018-19 season, he got another season-ending surgery on his left heel and then tore his Achilles when he slipped and fell in his own house. It's been a terrible series of events for Wall, and his contract is starting to look very bad. It's petrifying Wizards fans because it reminds everyone of Gilbert Arenas and his contract, but never got back into form due to injuries. Of course, there was no shortage of critics either. Wall has been criticized throughout his career, and his most recent injuries gave those critics even more ammunition. This is what he said in response to all of them. "Now, because I'm injured, I can't defend myself. Now I've got the worst contract ever? That's fine, I deserve that contract. When I come back, I'm going to show them I earned it. I never want a handout. I always worked for mine. A lot of guys got a lot of stuff that's given, never made McDonald's All-American, took National Player of the Year away from me when I was in college. Okay, I'm the #1 pick, I'm going to prove myself." Wall has seen his fair share of doubters throughout his career, and I'm hoping he could recover, but this might be the final nail in the coffin. For a guy like him who heavily relies on his quick first step, he's approaching 30 years old with a bad history of knee problems and multiple surgeries. His future is uncertain, and thus, the Wizards' future is uncertain. Next up, the second issue is they made a series of bad trades. In the 2018-19 season, they traded away Otto Porter Jr. at the deadline because he was having an off year. But he wasn't playing well mainly because Wall was out, and it was only him and Bradley Beal carrying the load. So they traded Otto for Jabari Parker, Bobby Portis, and a 2023 second-round pick, which is basically pointless. Initially, there was some optimism that maybe it could work out, but it did not. Both Parker and Portis would not stay with the team. The Wizards also traded away Kelly Oubre Jr. for Trevor Ariza, who also left the team right after the season ended. Oubre would go on to have a career season with the Suns. The issue was, both of these trades had the sole purpose of shedding salary, and the Wizards wanted to pay a lower luxury tax. Because of Wall's injury, they knew it was pointless to invest more money into the team, because they weren't gonna make the playoffs without him. However, they essentially gave up two young guys who they've been developing for years just to save money, and got literally nothing in return. On the bright side, they did get Rui Hachimura to replace them, but losing Otto and Kelly for nothing, not even getting a first-round pick in return, it'll hurt them in the long run. Also on the bright side, Ernie Grunfeld got fired, which is what Wizards fans have been waiting for a long time. The third issue is the coaching. Scott Brooks, even in OKC, was known to have very good relationships with his players. But when it comes to X's and O's and actually drawing up plays and running an offense, he's not very good. With Brooks, the Wizards' offense looks like a watered-down version of OKC's offense when he was there. Heavy on pick and rolls and isolations with fewer passes and less ball movement. In the 2016-17 season, despite the Wizards' success, they had the second fewest passes per game across the league. Their stagnant offense was easily exploited in the playoffs, and there's a hard ceiling of how effective his game plans really are. The fourth issue is, there is and was a lot of overconfidence from the players, mainly Wall, Beal, and Morris. Numerous times, they've stated that they believe they're the best team in the East, that they could beat the Cavaliers in the 2017 playoffs if they didn't get knocked out by Boston in the second round. Markieff Morris claimed that the Wizards were the better team, even though they lost. He would say that again a year later after they lost to the Raptors. There was a whole lot of talk coming out of the players, but they weren't walking the walk. Perhaps they believed they were better than they actually were. Recently, Beal even stated that there were some cultural issues within the locker room. Players seem to not care enough about winning or losing, and instead they care more about their image, or about the way they dress. Fast forward to 2020 and, well, we have no idea what's in store for the future. Bradley Beal was absolutely dominating, but his team was awful, and they've gone into a rebuilding stage that they should not be doing. He's wasting away his prime on a horrendous team. Maybe Hachimura can be the saving grace, maybe he could improve faster than we think. And maybe if Wall returns to his 100% self, they could possibly make another run at it. It's quite the sad story though. A team that set a great standard for how to rebuild from scratch and turn themselves into a prominent team. But that same success disappeared with a blink of an eye. Anyway, that's all folks. That sums up the rise and fall of the Washington Wizards. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you see them bouncing back when Wall comes back? Time is running out. It is not on their side. And they found themselves in one of the more perplexing situations across the league. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And as always, I'll see ya next time. Peace.